Hello, girlies, guys, and gays. Love you. Happy Pride Month. Happy nigga Happy nigga month. Um, yeah, baby. I don't know. I did have a lot of video ideas. I still said I was going to talk about the Carmelo Anthony situation along with the Cyrus situation, but then there was a lot of information coming out about Carmelo Anthony and things that I still feel like he should not be in jail for. People outside of the case is figuring out more information than the fucking cops for them to give him 35 fucking years. It really pissed me off. I feel like Carmelo Anthony, the way that a lot of people are explaining it, because of course, baby, I have a blade myself, 3 inches, baby, it's the law. It's the law. And best believe I will use it if I need to. And they said it went 2 inches in. That doesn't seem like somebody who is wanting to intentionally stab somebody. So I feel like that shit explains itself. I feel like he shouldn't have got 35 years. I do understand still going to jail for killing another citizen. Yes, unfortunately, that's the risk you have to take when self-protecting yourself. But he shouldn't have gone to jail for 35 years. Not gonna be out until he's fucking 40. 40 plus. Are you kidding me? For fucking what? Besides being black in America. Cyrus and that whole case not getting as much attention as it should be, but also him not getting justice. It was just a lot of unjust for the black community within the last 4 to 5 months. And then this whole situation at Walmart where a black mother was apparently stealing diapers. Even if that's the fucking case, do you know what type of economy we live in? It's the same level for me personally as somebody Cyrus taking 4 fucking water bottles or fucking one. It's a fucking water bottle. And it's fucking diapers. A necessity. A necessity. And my thing is, I worked at retail. I've worked at a couple retail stores. When you're working in retail, there is laws in certain companies, maybe. I get it. I don't get it. If it's your own store, I feel like it should be the same all around. So incidents like this won't fucking happen. But y'all killing people because y'all trying to do a good American citizen deed. Bitch, motherfuckers are wanting free rent for the rest of the year. Do you really think diapers are the problem for you right now? You acting like a motherfucker took a gun from the fucking store. And they shot in the back, somewhat on the passenger side, and killed the 1-year-old baby in the car. And I just feel like, was it all worth it? That's the thing that I ask myself in these cases that are happening right now. But I don't want to dwindle on it too much because I do want to make a separate video on that still. But I would say as of today, like, I'm just feeling very remorseful for women. And I get this feeling every once in a while where I'm just like going back and listening to women's stories about how unfair we feel like we've been given in this world, especially minority women. And I'm not saying all women don't go through struggles. I believe all women go through struggles, but there's levels to this shit for sure. And if you don't want to understand the levels, then you don't want to understand people's perspective. And I think wanting to understand people's perspective on life, especially it's not even understanding people's perspective. Because when I used to argue to niggas about like women and how scared I am sometimes, like how anxiety fills my whole body, and I feel like I can't go outside because every time I go outside it's a fucking problem, and I don't know if one of those problems will be my fucking last day. I've had multiple occasions. I can literally do a whole fucking video about the times that I've been approached by men in cars while I'm walking, etc., etc. Like, doing some of the most weirdest shit. Like, what is your intentions? What is your intentions? That's what I would like to know as a person, as a human being. And I know a lot of intentions from men's mind, especially because they have not been shamed enough for their, high sexual need for a woman's body. Bitch, I'm disgusted half of the time. It's just not a good feeling. But also about the women in Afghanistan and, just really being like, just because it's not me today, it doesn't mean it's not gonna be me tomorrow. Like, this is genuinely crazy. How normalized people are trying to make this, how in today's world we're still knocking down laws for girls not to be married off to grown-ass men. Like, when has misogyny ever done anything for us in the world? Yes, baby, I understand. Like, when has misogyny implicated? I mean, misogyny in my mind is a branch of society, because who runs society, who runs the way things should be down? Men. I used to hear all the time when I was younger, a black person's spirituality or a black person's magic was spirituality, and a white person's magic and or a man magic was manipulation. And I still absolutely believe that today. And sometimes, and people might say it's dramatic, like I know some girls in my life today that genuinely be like, you need to stop thinking of men so bad and da 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 da, trying to spill like this bullshit that I'm not listening to, because we have not had the same experience. Everything is about perspective, and if you don't want to understand my perspective, then shut the fuck up. I get very passionate about this, like being a woman, but I just don't understand the bullshit, because at the end of the day, like I said, when I used to talk to men and argue with men about how I feel about being a woman, it's because of like simply just understanding history. Like, you telling me you don't see how a woman is being portrayed in all these ways. And listen, I'm not saying, we can talk about the whole spectacle of women being in prostitution work, which I believe is one of the eldest jobs that a man in this world allowed a woman to be, outside of being a mother. A mother back in the day was a prostitution for men's entertainment. So no, I don't care if women are doing OnlyFans or stripping or whatever the case may be, because y'all have made it this way. So what does a world look like where women are not pushed to be perfect, or not pushed to be this whole idea of what a woman should be? Somebody, one of my radical feminists, black feminists, was recently talking about on her story, you know, and I do not know her name off the tip of my tongue, but she is possibly a black American and or African American woman. And she was talking about how people were basically saying that women are supposed to be sanitized down to what men think women are supposed to be: clean, shaven. If you're gonna put your body on profile, it has to be perfect. Being fat phobic, that is a thing that's coming back. Skinny is now in, question mark. Why is this a thing? So I don't know, and people are confused about that whole skinny is a thing now, because a lot of guys are saying like, oh, it's not for men, because quote unquote men need something to hold on to, quote unquote. And I say that in quote unquote because I still think that's a dumbass thing. Like, why does a woman have to have something for you to hold? Has a woman ever said, oh, I want some big cheeks from a man to hold? Possibly. But is it a regular thing? Is it a normal thing? No. I think the women just needs to stop being sexualized on their body. And then, you know, the whole thing of like, ugh, I can just go on so many things. The conversation in the video that was probably recorded a couple of years ago, of a woman talking about how she talked about her SA experience, and how she was explaining to this guy, yeah, it happened to my mother and it happened to my grandmother, and God forbid, but it also might happen to my child. And then him telling her, oh, you wouldn't let that happen because you seem like you have a good head on your shoulders, and you wouldn't allow your daughter to get hurt like that. Bitch, that's not the system that we're working with. And I couldn't even imagine like being told that by a man who, men are literally homegrown to not have things within humanity unless it's them putting in physical action, like being in the fucking military, or, you know, whatever the fucking case. I've had men tell me, oh, I want to be an FBI agent. Do you know how much FBI agents know and hold on to that go with child sexual trafficking and trafficking overall? Do you know how much information they have and how they hold on, and how the government is also a fucking gang itself and does these sexual violent things to women? Yes, we very much do know that men are fucking disgusting and vile beings sometimes. And people are saying, oh, well, if women close their trap and not give men sex, then things will be fine. And then I was also listening to this white feminist radical, which I do on and off because, you know, at the end of the at the end of the day, I do feel like we have ideas that are the same, but for two different reasons. Black feminists and white feminists are two different things. And if you have something to say about that, that we can talk about that. We can talk about it for sure. But yeah, she was basically talking about, and what do you do when a woman knows how the world is capable of viewing her, portraying, like, viewing her, you know, talking about her body, talking about her lifespan and how she is, you know, possibly or possibly not successful to being a wife or being a human being, because that's just the case of it all. People don't see women as human beings, and that's why I fight so hard for it, because it's like, of course, a lot of men go through things. A lot of men go through mental things sometimes, and that can detour them or distract them from the fucking main fact that we are human beings, and you can't just lust over us. Obsession, I am going to watch and I am going to talk about it, because a lot of people said that women took it as a great story, because of course we've heard these stories over and over, but a lot of men seen themselves in the main character, and I would love to see what y'all seeing yourselves in the main character. But yeah, she was like, you know, once being a feminist, hi baby. But yeah, once being a feminist, how do you like go about your life still? It's like being a nigga and knowing a lot of black history and then being like, why the fuck should I still be around people who want nothing? Oh, okay. Who want nothing to do with me, who don't care about me, who don't see me as human beings. Why should I want to be around these people? Okay, sister, you're falling, you're scratching me. Get, then sit. Anyways, so yeah, she was like, you know, you, and I don't necessarily agree with this, because I feel like just loving a man and trying to make him feel, I won't necessarily say that she was saying make these men feel comfortable, but love them enough so they can feel shame within themselves to not do what some men are capable to do. Some men, not all men, because some men are gay men, some men are trans women. So baby, what are you doing? Say you see hi. Is it boop? But yeah, she was saying, you know, love these men so they can feel more shame. So I guess, you know, loving them in the way where you can still call them out on their bullshit. Being that nice girlfriend, being that nice wife is not it. It's not going to do anything, because when you actually tell these people what they're doing wrong, and I mean people by men, when you tell these men what they're doing wrong and they have not been convicted of anything that they have done in their life, or they see conviction as like something that they have to physically endure, like prison, because guilt, she was talking about guilt in comparison to shame, and I feel like you can feel guilt, you can as a man be guilty, and you can as a man be guilty and then feel like it's a more of a physical punishment. Like guilt in my mind, not only for me, it's more of emotional, like, oh, okay, but say for example in the verdict, guilty, now you have to pay a price for the guilt, and it is not only emotional damage, it is physical damage to the body and to the man's mind. That is something that I do understand. So I feel like men need to feel more shame about the things that they think they can do and or do in order to stop what the fuck they're doing. I mean, I don't necessarily know where I was going with this video. It was just spewing out a lot of things that I've heard today. Like I said, the whole story of one day this might be my child. God forbid if I have any kids in this day and age, in this time, in this life period, low-key. But it's just so fucking like worrisome. It's so scary. I was also listening to a story of a young girl. Well, she's not a young girl, but it happened when she was a young girl, of her grandmother being beaten, raped by her partner, and just did the most horrific things to her little sister. And she ended up losing her little sister, and her mom tried to get her to unlock the door, and she was a child. And then the mom comes in finally, and she sees her mom on the floor, and she's asking for her baby. And the grandma's like, I couldn't save her, I couldn't save her. So she runs to the door, and she's banging on the door, and she's telling the man on the other side, Father, Daddy, take me instead, believe my baby alone. So in that video at the end, she expresses how it's more of an emotional pain from the woman's side, because if you really did love your children and you really did love me and you loved my sister, it's out of, you know, probably guilt and remorse herself. If you loved us, you wouldn't have allowed us to be in that house and be in that space and be in that place and be watched by a man who you know also did something to you. And that's valid as fuck. That's valid to be angry with her family about. Like, I don't feel like y'all really protected me, because if you really protected me, you wouldn't even let me get in the situation. Same thing with, you know, religion. We can get into that too, but I won't. Not today. And how that just fucked her up, because if those two women never continued the cycle of allowing this man to do what he continuously did instead of protecting, because there's no way that you can protect somebody who's willing to hurt a woman. And there's damn near, if a man can hurt a woman, he can hurt a child. That's what I believe in. That's what I believe in. Nobody ever had to tell me that. Nobody ever had to explain that shit to me. If a man is willing to hurt a woman, he is willing to hurt a child, and possibly even worse, because it is literally a power dynamic for a lot of men. So all I ask of all women across all diasporas, you know, mindset perspectives, is to say what the fuck you want to say. Be authentic in your words. If you see a fucking problem, talk about it. Make people feel uncomfortable and shamed enough, even in public, if that means they will never do it again. Because that's the thing. That's the reason why crime is kind of down today. I won't say crime is down, but compared to back in the day when people weren't being visually seen for the things that they were doing. This is Love Island 101. Bitch, we're going to see you for everything that you did. We're going to find out where you live. We're going to find out what you did. We're going to find out what you said. We're going to find out what you retweeted, because that's what the fuck it comes up to nowadays. And I do love that aspect as such. I want to talk about pretty privilege in my next video as well, because it's something that I've dealt with in my life. I will say, you know, I won't say non-pretty privilege, but I don't think I was that much of a cute kid. I was a cute kid, but pretty privilege of a teenager and growing up, it's really something to talk about, in my opinion, because it hurts and it helps. It helps in a toxic way that is patriarchy, but it hurts because people are only seeing you as this. And we can talk about a bunch of categories that fit into that. Men being tall, and men who are tall having to do nothing else but be tall and be bigots, and they get everything, etc., etc. But this is the video for today. I hope you guys like it and come back soon. We're gonna get in some talks. We're gonna talk a little bit about spiritual lessons and the question of the month that I'm giving myself to really deep dive in while the month is still here. Don't talk about it, it's almost over, and I have yet to like really dwell on stability and freedom. Even though I'm leaning towards freedom, you have so much air and space to do what you want to do, to be who you want to be, to feel how you want to feel, to see what you want to see. But as somebody who has been in the space and time of freedom a little too much, sometimes it's hard for me to zone in. So I still do feel like in this day and time, as we are going on, stability might be the thing for me. But I feel like getting into stability, just like getting a job that takes out a lot of time of your day, just because it's stable doesn't mean it's like good for the creative mind. And that's more so what I want to focus on. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoy the video. Everybody stay safe. And yes, we are still possibly in a war. Iran is shooting ships in the Hormuz. Trump is dying. allegedly. And hopefully Vance will not be our president. I would rather have the other guy. What's his name? I forgot his name. But yeah, JD Vance is literally coming to be the, what is it? He's getting thrown under the bus. He's basically, I don't know if Trump is really dying to the point where they're putting this nigga on the forefront and seeing if he can handle what the fuck he can handle. But I just really hope he doesn't. I really hope he doesn't. Bye.